So what's up, guys? Miles back with another live stream. Glad to be talking to you guys again, man. It's been a long day. I know my schedule's been off, man. I normally post every day at 7. This next week I'm gonna get back to that. 4th of July kind of screwed me up a little bit, but I feel like today's topic is gonna be a good topic, man. This is crazy because like I was just in the gym doing a regular workout, and then all of a sudden I'm like, bro, like let me talk to these people, man, about this stuff because I feel like it's really informative and it can help a lot of people that a lot of people don't know about this stuff. So, um, good teachers are hard to find, but are life changing, and it's very hard to find good people. Good people that actually have your interests, good people that actually have your back in the long term. Right. That's why good teachers are um, such a diamond in the rough because they they help you and expose a deeper reality that you're not privy to originally, right? So a good teacher, a good mentor is really hard to find, but it is very life changing. I got my talking points down here in the bottom left. So if you guys see me looking over to the bottom left of the screen, that's what I'm looking at. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share the video, like the video, like the video. So yeah, man. Intro. So what made me come up with this topic for today, right? What made me come up with talking about good teachers and how important good teachers are? What made me want to do this? What made me want to talk about this, right? So in my experience, when you ask somebody something about a job, or you ask somebody something about school, about how sports are supposed to be, or how anything that you're curious about that you're about to jump into, whenever you ask them about that, the information is most likely false. It's not really helpful for you, right? Either it's because of their ignorance to. Sorry, these people are talking outside. It's kind of fucking with my train of thought. But these people are either ignorant to the fact that they don't know what they're talking about. They've never really experienced it, but they want to talk to you and seem like they know what they're talking about. It could be that. It could be that they just lying to you so they can get ahead themselves. It could be, they just over exaggerate and they just over exaggerate stuff to kind of intimidate you and scare you. You never really know what the reason is, but right. But I just know, regardless of the most of the times, it's bullshit. Like it's just a flat out lie. It's an exaggeration, right? And people do this to you all the time, right? Because how many times have you asked somebody about something and they tell you something that wasn't accurate? You know, they over exaggerated something, so you went in there being scared and fearful, and then you're like, bro, like this is not what I thought it was. Like this is something that people are very cordial. You know what I'm saying? You went in there and talked to your boss or something, and these people are very friendly, but to somebody else's perception, right? It really um, makes you take people's what they say with a grain of salt, right? So um, people lie a lot. They over exaggerate a lot when it comes to experiences and things you want to get into, right? This is why it's very hard to find a good teacher, right? A good teacher that has your best interests, right? They have their own interests as well, right? They don't do stuff just for the hell of it, but they actually care about what they're doing. They actually care about you as a person. They actually care about the situation. So those people are very hard to find because, like I said, most people are just out for themselves. They could give a shit less of what happens to you because like most people, it's like, well, it sucks to be you, but when it's you, everybody don't care, right? So good teaching is hard to find, right? And so what happens is, right? I'm getting to my talking points right now. What happens is, right? You continue to ask people and ask people and ask people about stuff, and they continually lying and just trying to deceive you and giving you false information and false stuff that it begins to jade you, right? It begins to really, you begin to question people's motives. You begin to, because like I've said this one line. This is one of my talking points right now. I've been through that so much that you know I have a line where I just say people and people start laughing. They're like, "Bro, I just say like, bro, I hate people, bro. Like, I hate people." And then the people be laughing. People beside me be laughing and stuff. But it's not that I hate people individually. It's just that I hate the level of ignorance, the level of manipulation, how easily people are manipulated. I hate that stuff with everything in me, right? Nobody is telling it like it is. Nobody is actually giving you the pros and cons, right? And that's actually a good sign of a good teacher. They'll tell you the pros and cons. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, right? So good teachers can set you on the right path when it comes to your job, when it comes to life, when it comes to a mentor, when it comes to like, dude, a mentor. Pretty much everybody that's successful has a mentor, has had a good teacher, whether it be basketball or business or whatever it is. They've had somebody that they've been under mentorship with, and that is extremely helpful because you have personal experience right there. You have a personal person right there that you can call and text and talk to, and that's actually going through the situation as currently. They haven't been out of the game for 30 years. They haven't done it since they were 20. They're in the field right now doing it. So they have an insight of what's going on right now. Right. So I feel like a lot of people are being led the wrong way. Right. It's one thing to be a teacher. It's one thing to be a leader. That's one thing. But to be a good leader, to be a good teacher, to be a good mentor, to actually care and actually do stuff, that's completely different, right? And so I feel like in today's society, right, people are falling apart and no one cares, right? And a lot of you guys are making mistakes in life because um, you just don't know any better. Your parents didn't tell you any better. You weren't taught any better, right? And good teaching, they don't have to be a teacher, a professor, or a business person, or a mentor, or anything. That could be your parents, right? Your parents are your first teachers, right? And the fucked up thing is, if you don't even have that, that fucks up your maturity level, right? That fucks up the majority of your life. Because if you don't learn the basic stuff at a young age, you have to relearn that stuff as you get older. And as you get older, it's harder to learn stuff, right? So I feel like most of society is ignorant because the blind are leading the blind. And I'm just standing back, looking at the whole spectrum, looking at the bigger picture, and it seems like nobody has any pride or anything trying to take initiative and trying to change it. Right? They just want the whole society, just to crash like it is. Nobody actually cares anymore. If it really feels like way, because how can you see somebody going downhill and not say nothing? How can you see somebody about to fuck up their life and you not say, hey, bro, like maybe you shouldn't do that? Now, granted, they might not listen to you, but hey, you did your job. You warned them. You gave them a heads up so they can never say they weren't warned, right? And it's just one of those things, man, where it's just like the real people. I made a video about this, right? Real people are hard to find. The real people are getting slimmer and slimmer and slimmer as the day goes by, right? It really feels like our society is collapsing right before our eyes, right? It seems like we're going towards a dictatorship. It seems like it just seems all fucked up, and nobody gives a shit. Nobody even People don't, either you don't give a shit or you don't know enough to even know about this information, right? So, man, that's a whole that one talking point right there. It's just a whole that's a whole live stream right there. Society is falling apart and no one cares. Um, but my next point, people never tell you the cons of stuff, right? So what happens is, right, you have this big grandiose thing. You're like, man, I'm gonna be a music artist. I'm gonna be an athlete. Man, I'm gonna be a business person. I'm gonna be an entrepreneur. I'm gonna have my own business. I'm gonna go to college, be a doctor. I'm gonna be a lawyer, right? And so you go in there all gung ho, right? And then you get a reality check, right? You tell people that, yeah, I'm gonna be a lawyer. Yeah, I'm gonna be a doctor. Yeah, I'm gonna be the best music artist to ever live, right? And then you go into it and then you ask people about it, like, how do I do such and such and such and such? But they never tell you the cons to stuff. They just tell you the positive sides of it. It's like they're trying to sell you on the good things, but not necessarily, they never tell you about the bad things on the back end, right? That's how they lure you in. That's how they deceive you, right? They tell you all the good stuff to get your emotions going, right? To get you going, like, yeah, I'm gonna be the best ever in this, right? And then they set you up for failure, right? Because they know deep down that you'll never do it, especially if you don't know like the exact blueprint to how to do stuff, right? So that's one of the biggest things, right? And if people don't tell you that, you should ask them that, and depending on how their response is, that should tell you a lot. So if you're like, hey man, I want thinking about being a business owner, like ups, what's the upside to it, and what's the downside to it, right? And also too, that goes both ways, right? If people never tell you the positive sides of stuff, right? They just tell you the cons of stuff. That's a big thing too, right? There's always a balance in between stuff, right? I seen a video of what Ty Lopez was saying. He's like, having there's no money in easy. Everything's gonna be hard. Everything's gonna be a fight, right? But you gotta tell me the positive stuff as well. You can't just discourage me about the negative stuff, right? Sometimes you may you think about starting a business, or you think about becoming an athlete or a music artist, and you already know that that's like 0.001 of the population. You might know that, right? But nobody tells you like, yeah, but if you break through it, if you do it such and such and such and such, if you grind for 3, 4, 5 years, right, and you do it the right way, the benefits are monumental. The benefits are um, endless, right? So it goes both ways, right? They should give you a balanced approach of the pros and the cons, right? So that's a good sign of a good teacher. They tell you the pros and the cons. So next point, bad teaching is just as bad as learning by yourself, right? It's actually kind of worse. So with this talking point, what happens is, right, you get a bad teacher, right? They take you down this road, right? And what happens is the bad teaching causes you to develop bad habits, right? That you don't even know are bad habits. But that's because they're leading you down a bad path due to ignorance, due to on being on purpose. They don't, whatever it is, they don't care, whatever it is, right? And so they're leading you down this bad path that you don't know is a bad path, and so you get in the real world, or you try to or apply it to the real world. You don't know it's a bad thing until you try to apply it, right? So reason why I say bad teaching is actually worse than learning by yourself, because like if you're learning by yourself, you make a mistake, you can correct it as fast as possible. You know, if you're doing something in the real world and you're recognizing you're not getting the results you need to get, you're going to change something, right? But when you allow like a teacher to teach you and lead you, and you expect that person to have your best interest, and that person takes you down the wrong path, you know, that could really screw you up and put you back 10 steps, right? Because a good teacher will put you ahead of the game. He will put you ahead of the competition, right? By the time you get out there to apply the stuff in the real world, you're like, man, like I've already done this. This is easy. Like this is actually easier compared to how he was teaching me, because he taught me the hard way. right? But you know, but whenever you go through this cycle of testing out teachers and testing out new things, right? You're gonna come across bad teaching, and this is what I talk about. Like you have to develop the pattern or develop the skill of reading people and also being self-sufficient, right? Because sometimes you just can't trust people know about somebody at all. You got to do shit by yourself. You know what I'm saying? And that's really um, what it's about sometimes, right? Sometimes you just got to do shit by yourself and just learn the hard way, right? But if you can find a good teacher, that shit will put you light years ahead, right? Which is leading to my next point. Great teaching is life changing. It is life changing because a mentor that keeps it real with you and tells you the real realities of life when it comes to relationships, when it comes to making money, when it comes to people in general, when it comes to the government. When something happens, you're not surprised by it. You're like, yeah, I seen this company. I seen this coming. You know, my mentor warned me about this back then. I know how to do it. I seen it coming and I maneuvered around it. That's what great teaching does for you. It allows you to mitigate the mistakes, to mitigate the bullshit, to mitigate the drama, right? It allows you to evade those situations, right? Because if you're learning by yourself, you're gonna run into a lot of fucked up shit. How many times have you heard people that start businesses from the ground up and they're like, yeah, bro, like I made every mistake in the world, all this stuff I learned the hard way on this and that. And it's a long, treacherous path, right? But if you just had a good teacher that told you about that stuff and told you how to do it the proper way, you avoid at least 60 to 70% of the bullshit. Now, there's still gonna be bullshit, but you're gonna evade most of it. And that's worth it. That is extremely worth it, right? And the reason why, a good teacher, because I had a great mentor. My mentor was um, Chuck Carr, 1993, stolen base title in MLB. Right, I got a good mentor teacher right now for my CDL, and then I got a business guy I talk to. So like these guys tell you these guys break it down and tell me the real stuff on what's really gonna happen. The little details and stuff, right? So let's get into what makes a good teacher, right? Because we can't just talk about like all the bad stuff that people do. We know about that. How can we tell a good teacher? Well, I already talked about my first point. Tell pros and cons, right? They tell you the pros and cons about doing stuff. They tell you a balanced approach, right? They just don't tell you all the negative stuff, and they don't just tell you all the positive stuff. They tell you everything. They're like, yeah, this is good about this. This is extremely good about that, but this is extremely terrible about this, right? So if you're not willing to deal with this, I don't know if this is worth it. And the good stuff might not be worth it to you, right? And doing a risk assessment. So they tell you the pros and cons, right? And they give you a deep perspective on the overall task, right? They don't just tell you to run a route, right? They don't tell you to slant right, run up 5 yards and slant right. Like that's a robotic thing. Anybody can be taught to do that, or a freaking monkey or whatever can be taught that. Run 5 yards and slant inside, right? But it's the teacher that says, hey, depending on where that linebacker is, you might have to take that slant up a little deeper, or you might have to cut it a little bit short, right? Because if you run right into him, he's gonna block you, he's gonna hit you and knock you off your route, right? Or maybe you have the safety coming up, and if you don't catch it, that slant, as soon as you catch it and get to the ground, or he throws out in front of you and you catch it and you go to the ground. If you don't do that, then that safety's gonna come and knock your block off, and you're gonna be on a stretch, right? It's the people that tell you stuff like that, the deep introspective stuff. They don't just tell you the A and B stuff. They tell you, okay, it's A and subpoint A, B, and subpoint A, B, C. Then it's like they tell you that kind of stuff, right? They tell you that type of stuff. And that stuff is extremely helpful because, you go into stuff thinking stuff is a certain way. You're like, damn, like I didn't even think about it, stuff like that. I didn't even think about, things being like that in that way, right? So they tell you the pros and cons. They give you a deep perspective on the overall task. It's not just okay, you do this and that. They tell you a real world application. They tell you a real play. They tell you a real situation, right? Right. And then lastly, they balance out the hard work and being tough on you, right? Now, a good teacher will work you hard and tough, not because um, that's just a thing to do, but because like once you get out there like, at that play or on that job or in the real world, nobody's gonna help you along the way. So you have a blueprint of how to do stuff. So when you get into a jam, you have a default setting that's reliable that you can go back to when you get into a jam, right? Which is whatever system they're teaching you, right? So, and a good teacher knows when they push too hard and they stopped it, they end the session right there, right? So yeah, it's gonna be hard. A good teacher's gonna work you hard and be tough on you and be tell you the real reality, like, hey, you're not good at this. You need to focus on this right now. Stop. We're gonna stop. Focus on hitting home runs. You got to square the ball up right now, right? You can't even hit a fastball. Like, we're not even gonna worry about hitting curveballs. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't even tackle. Like we're not even gonna worry about coverage. Like you know what I'm saying? You got to do the basic stuff first before you can advance, right? And so that's what they help you on. They work you hard and tough on you on the specific stuff. And then once you be good at the specifics of doing something, then everything becomes together one by one and begins to make sense and it begins to help you and advance you in your development a whole lot faster, right? Because everything is about levels. You can't just skip stairs and go to level 10. You gotta go to level one, stay at level one until you get level one. Go to level two, get level two, understand it all the way, then move up to level three, get level three, stay on level three for a while, master it, go to level four. That's how life is. That's the good and safest way to do stuff, right? Because if you go up too fast, you're not gonna make it and sustain it, right? So that brings this live stream to a close. Your teachers are hard to find, but are life changing if you can find them, right? So hope this information brought you some insight, brought you guys some well developed insight, some um, a different perspective on viewing life and viewing things. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share the video if you like the video, and share it to other people to spread the message, right? Because I feel like it's too many fake teachers and too many people that don't give a shit that are pretending to be teachers and stuff and gurus and all that stuff. They really don't give a shit. They're just trying to get paid or whatever it is. Um, so, without further ado, you guys have a good day, a good week. I'll be back in here tomorrow night. Yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Deuces.